despite the fact that Michigan tends to be a slower offense than Washington, they're still averaging out about the same amount of points per game. And I'm not entirely sure what to do with that. First up, we've got Penn State, Illinois. We're going to go through each of the games. Well, we got 3 games. First up, Penn State, Illinois. We got 5 minutes for each game.
Looking for some bigger prey. They're hungry for that bigger win, and this could be it. If they can take down Penn State. I said, nevertheless. Why did I say I said?
The former 3rd string, now 2nd string quarterback, and people on Twitter are talking. Should he be the starter now?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Michigan Chatter on Team Rivalry. I am your host, Cliff, and with me, as always, is Mac. Mac, how are you?
I'm good. I'm still sick because we're recording this not 10 minutes after finishing the last video.
And that sickness just hangs on.
Yeah.
We have a special episode tonight simply because for the first time in CFP history, Michigan is going to the national championship, which is very exciting because Michigan has always had trouble in the postseason, but this year, not so much. Defeating Alabama for the first time since I don't know when, and also winning the Rose Bowl. Now it's on in the national championship. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time breathing. So I'm going to do the best I can. Michigan is going to the national championship to face the Washington Huskies, which will actually be a Big Ten team next year. So this is kind of a preview. Not only is it the first time Michigan's gone to the national championship since 1997, although they didn't actually have a championship game then, but it's also sort of a preview of the all different Big Ten next year. And just to sort of briefly recap here, both Michigan and Washington are 14-0, giving this, and I wish I should have looked this up, but I believe this might be the first time that the two teams in the national championship are both undefeated. I'm not sure if that's entirely the case. I think Mac might look it up, or I'll look it up while Mac is talking. One way or another, this time they are. They're both undefeated. They account for a total of 28-0 wins over this season. The series currently stands at 5-9 with Michigan winning. The last time they played was September 11th, 2021, and Michigan defeated the Huskies 31-10. The general stats for these two teams are that it looks to me like Washington has the advantage on passing. Michigan has the advantage on rushing. Washington they're almost dead even for points per game, with Washington being at 37, Michigan being at 36. That's the average per game. However, Michigan is less than half of the points allowed at 10 to Washington's 24. So again, we have two very well-matched teams, with one having, it looks to me like, more advantage on offense and the other one on defense, and as far as passing and rushing. Although I shouldn't have said that so fast. I don't have the offensive and defensive numbers. I just have the passing and rushing numbers. So maybe that's what Mac will get into as he starts talking. Mac, this game in just 7 days from now could mean Michigan goes 15-0 or 14-1. We're hoping they go 15-0. Give us a breakdown. What are you seeing in this game? What does Michigan need to do to win? And what do they need to stop from Washington, or whatever it is you wanted to talk about? Because we're both sick and we're just doing what we can to say something and to have fun saying it.
Let's talk about NyQuil, kids. It helps. I'll tell you what. Yeah. All right. So a phrase that I hear on the Cover 3 podcast, shout out Cover 3. You guys put on a good show. If you're watching, that'd be cool. A phrase that I hear all the time is styles make fights. And that's exactly what we've got here. I don't think Washington is trying to be an air raid program. I don't think that they are, because they run it too much to be an air raid program, but they have a heck of a passing attack. So right now, they're ranked number 1 in the nation in terms of passing yards per game at 350. For context, Michigan is 73rd. So not a great matchup there, although Michigan is still putting up more than 200 yards per game passing. So they're doing what they need to, and they've been doing what they need to beat other teams. So Washington is definitely a pass-heavy offense. Michigan has been a lot more balanced. They run the ball a lot more than Washington has. They've also thrown the ball a lot more than Michigan previously has. Michigan? I think I just pulled a Bob Ufer.
Yeah.
The point of contention here, and this is where I see the game getting really interesting, is that Washington's defense currently ranks 50th in terms of points against, allowing nearly 24 points per game. Michigan ranks number 1. So Michigan only allows 9.5 points per game, about 10 points per game. Michigan, on the other hand, is scoring 36. Washington is scoring 38. So while in terms of ranking, they're pretty they're not, well, they're only 4 spots apart, but in terms of actual numbers, they're pretty even. So where you've got Michigan is a nice, slow and steady offense. They move with speed when they need to. Check out the game-tying drive against Alabama. That drive was about 3 minutes, which, it's not the 2-minute drill, but it's fast for Michigan. Let's be honest. They still somehow or another managed to put up about the same number of points per game. And I think that's because, and I wish I had the number in front of me, I think that's because Washington doesn't necessarily do very well in terms of holding onto the ball. Although, as I say that, I look at the Texas game and I've got a highlight playing in my ear. Sorry about that. But as I looked at this game, Washington actually had the advantage in terms of possession. So they did it against Texas. There's that at least. So Washington's offense ranks 11th in points for, and Michigan's offense ranks 15th in points for. So there are a few spots apart in that, but in terms of actual numbers, Washington puts up 38 points a game, whereas Michigan puts up 36. So despite the fact that Michigan tends to be a slower offense than Washington, they're still averaging out about the same amount of points per game. And I'm not entirely sure what to do with that, because that speaks to a couple of different things. Does that mean that Michigan is maybe going up against worse defenses, or is Washington seeing that doesn't even really work because maybe Washington's going up against worse defenses? So I guess this could mean that the Pac-12 defenses are not very good, and so Washington's just, when they do score, they're able to score really, really quickly, but that also lends to Washington's offense being a little inconsistent, which actually there's some merit to that. So Penix has thrown a few interceptions this year, I believe, so he's thrown 9 interceptions this year. I believe he's got a few fumbles as well, whereas J.J. McCarthy has only thrown 4 interceptions. Would have been 5 if that one against Alabama had counted, but But in any case, that kind of lends to some of the inconsistencies that we've seen with Washington's offense. On the other hand, the game against Alabama, so the Rose Bowl was really the shakiest that we've seen Michigan's offense all year long, and yet Michigan was able to win. So that speaks to just the sheer tenacity of Michigan's will to win, but also if Washington is able to step up and get a few stops where they really need to and then score pretty quickly, that could end up getting out of hand for Michigan. Basically, this is all to say that if this ends up turning into a shootout, Washington's probably going to win. But Washington, I believe, has not faced a defense as good as Michigan's just yet. Although they do boast the Joe Moore winning offensive line. Wow. Cold step to me. They have the Joe Moore winning offensive line. And that's something that's going to need to be taken into account on the defensive side of the ball for Michigan, especially because whereas Washington I don't think has faced a defensive line as good as Michigan's, I don't think Michigan's faced an offensive line as good as Washington's. So I think in the trenches is really where this game is going to win or be won. That said, I think that Michigan's offensive line is way better than Washington's defensive line. So if Michigan can play a game of possession, if they can hang on to the ball, move the way that they want to, and dictate the game flow the way that they want to, and also get a couple of stops given Washington's inconsistency, this could actually be even a blowout in favor of Michigan if they don't, shoot themselves in the foot, which, let's be honest, it's a postseason game. We all saw the Rose Bowl. For as often as the ending of that game was, Michigan shot themselves in the foot many a time. They were able to come back, and that's awesome, but they need to not do that against Washington, who can score very quickly.
In watching some of the Sugar Bowl, I think that's what I was seeing was because that was, I mean, that game went 31-37, obviously higher scoring than the Rose Bowl. So it looks to me like that's where I believe that Michigan has the advantage defensively because their defense is so strong. I don't think Washington is going to be able to get away with moving as fast as they think they can. Because I think the Texas D line couldn't stop Washington, where I think Michigan's D line will. And once they'll shut them down the same way they shut down Alabama, but Washington doesn't have the defense, I think, to shut down Michigan the way Alabama shut down Michigan.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, no, that makes sense. I think you're right. I don't think so. I think when it comes down to it, Texas, I mean, it's pretty clear Texas's defense is not as good as Michigan's. And when I was going back and watching some of the highlights, because I'm not going to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning watching the Sugar Bowl, guys, what are we doing? Like, come on. I understand, like, the Rose Bowl went late, but you got to be kidding me. Anyway, but watching some of the highlights, Texas's secondary really struggled. And I understand that's partially because of how high-powered Washington's passing attack is. But Michigan's is a lot better. I mean, Alabama has usually a solid passing attack, and Michigan, for the most part, shut down the deep ball. And that's pretty much what Washington wants to do. I mean, Penix has the arm to throw deep, and he likes throwing deep whenever he can do it. So if Michigan can force him to dink and dunk, and Penix doesn't rush, or Penix gets frustrated and wants to rush some of these throws, Michigan can force him into some mistakes. So it really comes down to how patient can Penix be. But that being said, that would really play into Michigan's favor either way, because if they can just slow down Washington and make them hold on to the ball longer, that increases the chance that Washington's offense is going to make a critical error. And that, I think, is really where Michigan needs to take advantage of Washington's offense, for sure.
All right. I don't know if I can add anything to that. I'm still trying to figure out if there's been 2 undefeated teams in the national championship before. I have to keep looking that up. Dig out
2018.
Was it okay? Was 2018?
Yeah, it looks like it was 2018.
Alabama, Clemson.
Yep,
they were both undefeated. All right. What about 2019?
I don't know.
We'll have to look that up. We won't make you sit here and wait for us. We'll figure it out. We'll tack it onto the video. That's going to do it for this video. The national championship is on January 8th. That's Sean. I thought it was on January 9th.
It is. No, it's on the 8th.
Is it on the 8th? Is that next Monday?
That's Monday.
That's Monday. Okay, I got my days mixed up. That's actually, I don't know why I'm doubting it. That's actually the graphic from the national championship website. So this is what happens when you're sick. You don't believe your own, you don't believe what you're seeing anymore.
Mm-mm.
We're going to cut it there because there's really no more need to talk and drag this out. The national championship is on January 8th. Watch it. We're going to watch it. Go Blue. Mac, anything you want to add?
No, I want to go to bed.
That's going to do it for us. Happy New Year, everybody. Enjoy the football game. Mac, take us out of here, please.
This is Michigan Chatter on Big Ten Team Rivalry. I almost forgot the name of our channel.
I'm sick.
I'm sick. And I just want to go to bed. And I'm tired.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a subscribe. It would mean a lot to us. Maybe even a like, possibly even a comment. Let us know your thoughts and all that. It would be really great to hear from you all. Have a great weekend watching football and enjoy watching football. Remember, hashtag make football fun again. This is Big Ten Team Rivalry.